We've had a lot of NHL news today, including several trades, and there's tons of new videos on the channel here today. But in this video, we're going to recap a lot of these smaller deals that we haven't already talked about. Plus, we have news from the NHL waiver wire, as well as some more signings. We'll discuss all the other news coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some more news from the NHL that we haven't already talked about. Surprisingly enough, there's still some more smaller trades that we haven't recapped here yet. Many trades have gotten their own dedicated video. I think I've posted like 8 or 10 videos on the channel already today, so you can certainly look at an individual breakdown if you like in that regard if you haven't already. But we do have some other news and some smaller trades to recap. So like, for example, from the NHL waiver wire, the Canucks have claimed Brad Richardson, who was on waivers from the Calgary Flames. Of course, the Flames were looking for some roster flexibility as they had plans to make some more acquisitions. So finally, a player goes from Calgary to Vancouver instead of vice versa. We've seen a lot of Canuck players or former Canuck players end up in Calgary over the past year. And the Arizona Coyotes have claimed goalie Harry Sateri, who had signed with the Maple Leafs but was coming over from Finland and had to go through waivers to be placed on an NHL roster. So the Leafs don't get to keep their European goaltender. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk and speculation around the Maple Leafs goaltending situation here as of late. And this might have been part of the solution they were hoping for, and they won't get to keep them. So that's certainly not good news for them. The Coyotes, on the other hand, traded Scott Wedgwood today, so that left them with Karel Vejmelka, who has signed a new contract, which we'll talk about momentarily. So obviously, Sateri is likely going to get a chance to play some NHL games along with him for the remainder of the year. So we'll see where that goes, but that certainly backfired on the Maple Leafs. Now, as far as some signings go, the Islanders have announced they've re-signed a couple of players, which include veterans Cal Clutterbuck and Zach Parise. I believe the Clutterbuck extension is 2 years at $1.75 million. Parise is a 1-year deal. I've seen reports saying it was 1.5, but I've seen other clarifications saying it's 750. So I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. I believe the 750 is accurate, but check the pinned comment down below if there's any updates on that. Either way, he's with the Islanders next year. Obviously, the Islanders were extremely quiet today. Lou Lamoriello didn't really do anything, and it kind of says in his press conference after the deadline passed that he, kind of believes in his group, and then it was kind of a blip of a year. I don't know. This team needs to be younger, faster, more skilled. There's certainly some players on this team that needed to move. They do have a little bit of cap flexibility for next year, but not bringing back Clutterbuck and Parise would have added more. I'm not really sure what Lou is doing, but to me, I think a lot of Islanders fans appear to be quite upset here, and we'll see what the offseason brings, but certainly not something that we expected was the Islanders to stand pat here and kind of punt this to next year saying, oh, well, we had a tough season, but we still believe in this team. They did. They had a lot of things going against them, but so did a lot of other NHL teams, and you don't see them standing around not making any changes. It's going to be a very interesting offseason for the 2-time reigning GM of the Year award recipient. I'm not sure he's going to get a 3rd consecutive award, but be curious to see how he proceeds. Now, on to some of the other signings here today. We have like I said, the Canes have signed Jesperi Kotkaniemi. The 8-year deal that we discussed a couple weeks ago is finally official. Of course, he couldn't sign that officially until today because of the rules around the offer sheet. So 8-year deal at $4.82 million. Of course, they had to offer sheet him at $6.1 to get the player, with the plan all along to get him signed well below that. So that gets done today. The Coyotes signed Karel Vejmelka to a 3-year extension at $2.725 million. So it's a pretty good deal for him. He's come up this year and played, and certainly looks like he can be a goalie for them for the next few years as they go through a bit of a rebuild, tear down, whatever you want to call it, that they're going through here, because it's certainly been rebuilding for a while, but it's going even deeper into it. And the Kings have re-signed Blake Lizotte as well. He gets a 2-year deal at $1.675, so that's a pretty decent raise for him and something that he's certainly earned. He's been a good player for them for sure. Now on to the other deals that we haven't already discussed. We saw a pretty, I think the most substantial deal that we haven't talked about yet was the one between Detroit and St. Louis, which sees the St. Louis Blues picking up a couple of players, and Nick Leddy and Luke Witkowski, that goes to St. Louis, and the Detroit Red Wings get Jake Wallman, who's a decent young defenseman prospect, Oscar Sundqvist, and a 2023 second-round pick. So Sundqvist has battled a ton of injuries, so I'm not sure where things stand with him right now, but I know that's a decent return for Detroit on some expiring contracts. So obviously Leddy can certainly help St. Louis. There's a lot of discussions around the Blues picking up another defenseman. Ideally, Doug Armstrong doesn't like to go for the rentals. They were in on Chychrun, but were not able to get a deal done. So I wonder if they'll revisit that in the offseason, along with some other teams like the Islanders. One of the Islanders reporters, I believe it was Andrew Nichols, maybe, I'm not sure, could be wrong on that, was reporting that he believes that Chychrun will be the Islanders' top target in the offseason as well. They won't be the only one. They're definitely going to have some competition. Obviously, a few other deals here. Detroit Red Wings also traded Vlad Nemestikov to the Dallas Stars for a 4th-round pick. So Nemestikov goes for a 4th. The Senators trade Zach Sanford to the Jets for a 5th-round pick. There's been a lot of talk and speculation that Zach Sanford doesn't enjoy playing in Canada. So I'm not sure he's going to like Winnipeg any more than Ottawa, but certainly it would be interesting to see what happens from there. I'm not sure if he'll re-sign. I'm going to guess probably not, but he's still young enough. I believe he's an RFA at the end of the season. So we'll see what happens with Sanford. The Avalanche have picked up a couple of depth pieces here today, including Andrew Cogliano. Of course, Cogliano, a longtime veteran, comes over from San Jose for a 5th-rounder in 2024. So that certainly will complement them. Also getting Arturi Lehkonen from Montreal today, which we've already discussed. The Montreal Canadiens have also traded Andrew Hammond, who they picked up as a journeyman goaltender, to come in and help them out of a jam. But now that they're starting to get healthy again, it's time for him to move on. And if they kept him, he wasn't going to really be able to play a whole lot. Didn't make sense for him to play in their minor league affiliate when they can let guys like Caden Primo, who need the games and experience, to play. And if Price is getting closer and Allen's healthy, they have Montembeault. It just doesn't make sense. They might as well send him somewhere where he can actually have a chance to play and see if he can continue his NHL career. So he goes to New Jersey for prospect Nate Schnarr. We also saw the Blackhawks trade forward Ryan Carpenter to the Calgary Flames for a 5th-round pick in 2024. So the Calgary Flames kind of round out there. Obviously, they lose Richardson on waivers, but bring in Carpenter. The Edmonton Oilers, their obviously provincial rival, picked up Derek Brassard from the Flyers. The Flyers have kept 50% of Brassard's salary, and they get a 4th-round pick from the Edmonton Oilers in return. So decent little piece of business there by Edmonton. Ken Holland certainly wasn't doing anything goaltending-wise, which is not overly surprising. Max Domi was traded from the Columbus Blue Jackets in a 3-way deal, which involves the Florida Panthers taking on some of his salary, but he ultimately ends up with the Carolina Hurricanes. So Domi goes to there with some salary retained. The Jackets didn't really get a great return, in my opinion. There is a prospect going back, but it wasn't really a solid name prospect at all. So obviously they really sold low on Domi and didn't get much of a return. The Washington Capitals earlier today picked up Marcus Johansson. They continued on with that and picked up Johan Larsson from the Arizona Coyotes, with the Coyotes now retaining 50% of that salary on Larsson, so they're tapped out for the number of contracts they're allowed to retain salary on. So Larsson goes to from Arizona to Washington for a 2023 3rd-round pick. And of course, the Calgary Flames then turned around and traded Michael McNevin, who's a goalie who they got with Tyler Toffoli from the Montreal Canadiens in that trade, who really wasn't getting a ton of opportunity. He goes to the Ottawa Senators. And in return, the Senators offer future consideration. So basically nothing, but McNevin is going to be able to get a chance to play in the minors. Right now, Matt Murray's not expected to really be able to play much this year for the remainder of the year. Dorian said today that he might play a game or two a little bit. But right now, obviously, they signed Anton Forsberg. They can keep Gustafsson up in the from the minors up in the NHL right now. And if Murray's able to come back later on, then they can certainly send Gus down along with McNiven. They at least they'll have everything covered at the American Hockey League level. They plan to bring up Mads Sogard as well for a few games. So at least they'll have enough goalies there to kind of rotate them through to get a little bit of NHL action so they can evaluate their goaltending plans. Moving forward, the Tampa Bay Lightning have also reacquired Riley Nash. He comes back from Arizona for future consideration, so probably not much of anything will happen there. And then the Wild ended up dumping Victor Rask on Seattle with half of his salary retained, also for future considerations. Now, there are some other trades I've seen talked about, but can't confirm they're done yet. We may have to do another video later on if that's indeed the case, but there was talk of Evgeny Dadonov in Vegas being traded to the Anaheim Ducks, and coming back was reportedly the Ryan Kessler contract, which is obviously a long-term injury reserve, which would be a way for the Golden Knights to kind of manipulate things to kind of extend what they have there. So there's also talk that they might be trying to sign Riley Smith to a contract extension, which is going to be difficult. They're over $90 million in salary, so I'm not sure what they're going to do. Salary has to go out of Vegas at some point, so I'm not sure what they're doing here. Obviously, Dadonov would be a salary going out, but it's still not enough to get them cap compliant, at least once it's all said and done and everything levels out back to normal. But for right now, I have not been able to get confirmation that that deal actually took place, so we don't really know yet if that's finalized or not, but there was still a bit of a wait in the queue at the NHL trade central registry there when everything gets registered, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. So I believe that's everything that we've covered here. I don't think we've missed anything. If we did, we'll certainly talk about it in the next video, but certainly stay tuned. Let me know your thoughts on the entire day. NHL trade deadline 2022 kind of comes to an end here. It's been extremely busy. I think we've probably done 19 or 20 videos over the past 48 hours. I know I'm exhausted. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. Hopefully you're enjoying all the action around the NHL. And now we can focus more on the playoffs and what's going to happen next, and then starting to get ready for the offseason. There's still lots of players that did not move that were rumored to, and there's bound to be a lot more as teams start to be, finishing their regular seasons and then, of course, get eliminated from the playoffs, especially the ones that are out early. There'll likely be more changes coming. So let me know. We'll keep you up to date here on all the news around all the teams. NHL trade deadline is wrapping up, but of course, subscribe if you're new. Stick around. We'll keep you up to date on all things NHL for the rest of the way. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.